Well, hello and welcome to The Right Hook with me, Steve Hook. It's good to be with you. TGIF, we have made it to the weekend, very close to it anyway, and it's good to be with you on this Friday. Hope you're doing well. Once again, we want to welcome our friend Michael Lauber, who's become a regular sit-in with me. Hello, Michael. Michael, of course, is the co-host of The Insurrection, and you see him on a lot of the great shows here on X American News. Michael, it's good to see you, brother. How are you? Happy Friday, man.
Oh, just another day in paradise. I'm glad it's almost the weekend. And yeah, I'm getting sick and tired of living through historical events. I keep saying that, but here we are.
Some historical events are better than others, but lately the stuff that's going to be written in the history books for this last year or so isn't going to be necessarily great as far as the left is concerned. We titled the program "The Left Decides to Burn It All Down" because, from what I can tell, Michael, they are on this kamikaze mission where they don't much care. You've got Chuck Schumer, who is running for his life to hold on to his position as minority leader in the Senate. AOC is breathing down his neck and threatening to run. Boy, that would be fun to watch. And they're all caving, no matter who they are, to Zoran Mandami types inside the party. The far left has taken over the Democrat Party right now. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, they're all out there saying Zoran Mandami, that's the future of the Democrat Party. Well, just about everybody but Senator Lurch from Pennsylvania, Fetterman's out there actually telling them, like, especially with this budget deal, like, if you don't make a deal, this is going to blow up in our faces, and it will give Trump total control over the government until a agreement is reached. But he seems to be the only one left up there with two brain cells to rub together, surprisingly.
Yeah, I mean, I would, if you bet on Polymarket, who would have bet 2 years ago that Fetterman would be the voice of reason with inside the Democrat Party? But here we are, and I wouldn't be surprised if that guy jumped ship before long. The way Pennsylvania's been trending, I just don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But he is the only one that's kind of trying to say, "Hey, cool it down." Meanwhile, on the other side of the aisle, well, not the other side of the aisle, but the other side of the divide within the DNC, they're basically saying, hey, like Newsom is saying, hey, ICE agents, what are you afraid of? Why don't you take off the mask? Knowing
Yeah.
good and well that that's a hello. Why don't you I mean, put yourself up for murder is what they're saying.
Yeah, he was literally on the Colbert Report the night before, or whatever his show is called now. I guess not the Colbert Report, whatever show, the irrelevant show that Colbert is on. Again, calling them fascists, calling them Nazis, calling them Trump's Gestapo. They keep wanting to turn down the temperature, but refuse to do it themselves. And again, they really just want our side to quit pointing out their hypocrisy and quit pointing out that they're the ones committed to all this violence. They don't like that they're getting called, that we're calling a spade for once. That's the only reason they're bringing this up at all. They want to, absolve themselves of any responsibility. They've already got their mouthpieces in the media pretending that this last shooter at ICE, he wasn't ideology. They drug some of his friends from high school from 17 years ago out to tell stories about how, he wasn't very political in high school, even though it's obvious that he was radicalized. And I guess I haven't seen the details of it, but I guess he watched the Charlie Kirk murder, hundreds and hundreds of times. They have his records of him watching this thing basically on repeat. And again, it's obviously what he was inspired by.
Yeah. And the Charlie Kirk assassin was inspired by other like-minded leftists.
Yeah.
And this is what's so shocking is that they're not only are they not turning down the rhetoric, they're ramping it up.
Yeah.
And by the way, their media, their cohorts in the media are every bit as guilty as the Democratic Party. But I repeat myself, I mean, they just really are. I mean, there's the Democratic Party, and then there's the Democratic Party's media wing, which is 90% of the media, at least the broadcast media,
Yes.
and a lot of the cable media. They don't do worth a damn in radio, coincidentally enough. But whatever. If it's a big corporation that owns the news outlet, they do pretty well there because they've got financial backings. Now, I mentioned that because this ICE shooting that happened a couple of days ago in Dallas, and the guy turned the gun on himself, and this is who you're referring to, I guess, correct?
Yes.
He was obviously radicalized. And if you look at some of his, I mean, even his family members or his sister, everybody, they're all just
Wingnuts.
hardened leftist. And one thing we know for a fact is that the reason he was on that rooftop and knew where ICE was because he was using one of these apps. I think he was using the app. I won't even name the name of it because I don't want anybody else to look it up. But you can find it if you're really in the mood to look for it. But he used an app that you can download that shows you where ICE agents are going to be at any particular time. And this guy decides to take a few pops. He's not a very smart guy. He's a dead guy now, so he's certainly not any smarter than he was, although he may be. Who knows? But he's not around to tell us. He was just shooting as many people as he could. He didn't know that they were ICE agents. He didn't know that they were detainees. He probably assumed they were all ICE agents because the only person he killed was an illegal that was being apprehended, had been apprehended. And these apps that I'm talking about are promoted on the news. They're talked about. I won't give you the name of it, but by God, NBC will, CNN will, MSNBC will happily give you the name. They'll give you a whole list of them probably. Yeah. So you've got this ICE associate director, Marcos Charles is his name. And this is going to be cut too, Michael, just to get you warmed up and ready to roll. But this is what the ICE associate director, Marcos Charles, on scene in Texas, had to say about what went down the other day. And it's damning to the media and to the left. Cut two.
Good afternoon. My name is Marcos Charles. I am the ICE Executive Associate Director for Enforcement and Removal Operations. The attack on ICE's Dallas field office yesterday was tragic. And while our hearts and prayers are with the family of the detainees who were shot, the evidence is clear that this was intended as an assault on ICE personnel who come to work every day to do their job. Violent rhetoric has led to over 1,000% increase in assaults on ICE officers, and it has to stop. In contrast to those who would demonize our men and women, yesterday our brave officers ran back into danger, along with ATF, our partners, to save the detainees while shots were still being fired. Those ICE officers just showed the world who they really are. Law enforcement officers who want the best for our country. That's ICE. Integrity, courage, excellence. They were willing to put their lives on the line to pull detainees out of the transport van to get them to safety. They are heroes, and I hope the media has the integrity to shine a light on this story.
They won't.
Enough is enough with the harmful lies and violent rhetoric. It has to stop. The shooter used the ICE tracking apps. Anyone who creates or distributes these apps that is designed to spot, track, and locate ICE officers are well aware of the dangers that they are exposing to law enforcement. It's a casting call to invite bad actors to attack law enforcement officers. It's no different than giving a hitman the location of their intended target, and this is exactly what we saw happen in Dallas yesterday. The media has been amplifying these apps even as we warned them it would only lead to more attacks on law enforcement. We truly wish we didn't have to say, "I told you so," but here we are. ICE continues to prioritize the safety and security of our personnel, detained aliens, and...
Well, there you go. He said some other pretty pointed stuff too, but the gist of it is, okay, media, we hate to say I told you so, but I told you so, you sons of bitches. You broadcast where these where you can find these apps, how to use these apps. And guess what? Now they've been used, and you've got a dead detainee and an assassin that turns the gun on himself. And yet you're not going to get the media to say, you know what, guys, it's time to talk. They're going to say, well, this is just proof positive that Trump's attack on these poor immigrant communities is wreaking havoc around the world. And if you want to know where, I mean, if you're in a community that's so affected, you can go get this app and they'll tell you what, that's what they're doing.
Well, yeah. And, I don't know which Democrats posing as journalists. This video was on, but I saw one from just a few weeks ago when this particular app, where they were basically giving like a glowing review and talking about how people are going to use this to protect their family members and their community members. I mean, it's disgusting. And again, reality, it's going to be used for the purpose it was used for, and that's to attack ICE agents. Again,
and the media knows that, by the way. They're not. There's nothing innocent or, about we're just using it to help people. No, you're not. You know damn good and well what those apps are for.
Yeah. Well, and again, consider, the vast majority of the people getting picked up right now are criminal illegal aliens. They're guilty of sex offenses, homicides, rapes, other criminal activities. I guess right now, this is a breaking story. The media is freaking out because the superintendent of the Des Moines, Iowa public schools, an illegal alien fugitive from Guyana with prior weapon charges, ICE just grabbed him. So now they're trying to paint this guy as some kind of a hero that was, deserved to be here, and ICE should never have arrested this guy.
Of a school district? What?
Yeah. ICE arrests superintendent of Des Moines, Iowa public schools, illegal alien fugitive from Guyana with prior weapons charges.
Yeah,
but he's a hero.
He's going to be the hero. Well, let's take a look. Do me a favor, cue up cut one, because this is the kind of radicalization, and this is the kind of crap and I'm not just blaming the media, but I'm putting a whole bunch of blame on the media, because the media has been used as a weapon by the and more on that later, by the way, but the media has been used as a weapon against conservatives, against the country, quite frankly, for a long time now. And you say, well, what harm could it do? It's freedom of the press, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know what it does? It radicalizes people. It gives people the excuse to go out and take out somebody like Charlie Kirk. It gives people the excuse to go out and shoot ICE agents. It gives people the excuse to kill a young couple in front of the Holocaust Museum, or to shoot a United Healthcare CEO. That's what it does. That's exactly what it does. And you want to see some of these idiots in action? Look at this. This was outside the Chicago ICE Center yesterday. Cut one.
Arrest ICE! Arrest ICE! Arrest ICE! Arrest ICE! Shoot ICE! Shoot ICE! Shoot the fucker! Shoot the fucker!
You hear that? Arrest ICE, arrest ICE, shoot ICE. And somebody in the background said no. And then somebody else joined him and said, yeah, shoot them. And then he says, shoot the MFers, and blows a whistle. I mean, that guy, that's what I want the country to look like. I want him to look like him. This is exactly who the media is affecting, these kinds of people that are just unhinged enough, to advocate shooting officers.
Well, and then our mainstream media is going to attack that reporter, Julio Rojas, as some sort of a race traitor for standing up to his for his country and document all this. And they went after him too when he was down on the border.
I remember.
Yeah, but I mean, it's disgusting. It's backwards. It's a bunch of awfuls, affluent white female liberals that are down there.
That was a dude, though. It must be said that said shoot him. But yeah, you're right.
Are we sure? Maybe he's a trans. Maybe he identifies that way.
Well, we don't know. We don't know what he identifies, and by God, we certainly don't want to, assume anything. It is 2025. Well, I'm happy to.
My experience is most of the male Antifa members look like methed out losers anyway, and most of the women that show up are 500-pound tanks. It's the Antifa tank division.
Well, you're not going to, one thing, Michael, you're not going to get me to rush to their defense. So I think that's funny. But you saw that guy. And this is the reason why people are saying you guys need to tone it down. Now, as I mentioned, we're going to circle back to the media, because here we go again. Changing gears, but really not changing gears, just kind of changing lanes here. James Comey gets indicted yesterday by a D.C. grand jury. So he is now, or was it a Virginia grand jury? I think it was an Alexandria, Virginia grand jury. Close enough, right across the river.
Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't look close enough. I don't know.
Yeah, it's right across the river. It's 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. But the point is, he was indicted. Of course, the old line is you can indict a ham sandwich. So I don't know where the case is going to go. Maybe they've got more on him than they've kind of let out. But we know that James Comey is a corrupt SOB. So what does the media do you suspect, Michael, when that happened? What was their reaction? What did you expect the media to say?
Circle the wagons. Comey did nothing wrong. This is weaponization of our Justice Department. Oh my God, it's an existential crisis, constitutional crisis. This is an existential threat for the American people,
Yeah,
our
that's right.
democracy. Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah, well, as if to prove your point, and I know you haven't watched any of these clips because we talked about it off air. You said I haven't even watched them yet, so this will be just as entertaining to you as it was to me the first time I saw it. Here's Ken Delanian, lying leftist hack, talking about how you can't compare what Comey being indicted to what Comey and Wray and everybody else did to Trump and his associates. That's just not right. Listen to this lying sack. Cut 3, go.
Tonight. What are you hearing from your sources in law enforcement right now? What's their reaction been to the news today?
Shock and sadness, Jen. Even though you could see this coming, there was some hope that maybe grand jurors in the Eastern District of Virginia would resist and no-bill this case and refuse to indict. That didn't happen, obviously. I got one text from a longtime source saying this is a sad day for America. People are saying the Justice Department as we knew it is dead, is over. And that may be a bit of hyperbole because, look, the Justice Department is still going to operate tomorrow in most of its functioning as normal. People are going to go into work. They're going to investigate, prosecute criminals. But this thing that has happened here, a president essentially urging his Justice Department to bring charges against a political opponent and then replacing a U.S. attorney who refused to do it with a more pliable U.S. attorney and then making that happen, that is a watershed. That is a line that we have crossed now in this country. And Republicans are going to say, Jen, well, wait a second, didn't the Biden administration do that? Didn't the FBI go after Donald Trump? That was completely different. That had no resemblance to what happened here with James Comey. Those were investigations based on the facts and the law pursued by career FBI agents and career prosecutors overseen by a special counsel, totally walled off by any of the political leadership in the Biden administration. Millions of Republicans do not believe this, and that is one of the reasons we are where we are, but it is a fact.
Okay.
And this...
This Ken Delanian, he's the Justice and Intelligence correspondent for MSNBC. Boy, you talk about a lame gig. He's the unjustice and no intelligence reporter for MSNBC. He makes it sound as if they were walled off, Michael. There was they didn't even know what they were thinking. They didn't even know how did they know what Biden wanted? Yeah, sure. They were walled off when they covered up the Hunter Biden laptop story. When the FBI was on the phone with Jack Dorsey and company at X and Zuckerberg over at Facebook and what's his name over at Google saying, get these stories off the web. Don't blacklist these people. Yeah, they were doing all of that because they were all about truth and justice in the American way. I mean, Ken Delanian really must think everybody is as stupid as the average Ken Delanian fan.
Well, yeah, when I see videos like this, and, luckily this kind of rhetoric is not working with the public anymore. But it really does make you wonder, like, are these people like completely delusional and I guess walled off from reality? Or do they not look at what the DOJ and others have been putting out, showing Comey on the stand, lying to Congress, lying about leaking, and then other documents that have since come forward proving that he laundered information to other people, friends of his, to then give to, I think it was the New York Times or the Washington Post, I can't remember which, but multiple instances of this, of him leaking documents. And then
to his buddy, his friend that was a professor at Columbia.
Yeah.
And he leaked it. And by the way, I'll just to kind of fill in some gaps here for people that may not remember this. He proudly admitted that he did that. And he did it for one reason, to get a special prosecutor assigned to Trump so they could then do what? Then get a bunch of FISA warrants. It was all a corrupt as hell gamble on his part, but he knew that he was safe in rolling the dice and doing this crap. Just like remember when he admitted that, I would have never done this with Michael Flynn. I would have never done this except for there's confusion going on and I knew we could do it. So I did it, but no, normally we would never do that. Everything Comey did was to undermine the incoming administration at the time, Trump, and then to try and destroy it from within, although he didn't last long. but he did a lot of damage. He also covered up for Hillary. Remember,
Yes.
he gives a whole laundry list of violations and felonies, and then says, but no federal prosecutor would ever try. It's just such a crock.
Well, he might be right about that because they don't want to end up dead in a ditch somewhere and have committed suicide in some strange way. So he may have had a point with that. But the rest,
He found it. He shot himself in the back of the head 4 times, then reloaded it, did it again.
locked the gun in a briefcase because you don't want kids finding that in Marcy Park, but they discover the body first.
Yeah.
But it's just totally unbelievable, completely detached from reality, and I don't think this masquerade is going to work because people can watch the video of him literally lying to Congress, and then you play that back with him then telling the truth about what he did. So this is going to work. There's a lot of people think he's hoping for some kind of a plea deal, but I think putting him on trial is half the fun. Now, depending on where they're getting the grand jury from, I'm a little disappointed he didn't get his door kicked in at 6 a.m. But maybe we'll see that with the next few, because there's a lot of other people shaking in their boots right now, Brennan and others, that they're next. And I guess we're expecting this guy to surrender himself.
Letitia James, she's probably scared to death.
Oh, she's cooked. She's going for the mentally retarded defense, pretending she didn't know it was a crime to commit mortgage fraud, despite the fact that she prosecuted people for exactly what she's being accused of.
Yeah,
so we'll see if that works for Fat Tish.
And what about Stacey Abrams? I mean, they funneled a lot of money through that chick. There's so much corruption going on there that it's not funny. As far as Ken Delanian goes, listen, he lives in the bubble of his own ideology, and he dare not ever pierce that bubble. So he just won't. So he just talks like you said, are they living in a different world? Yeah, they are. I mean, I think he literally is living in a different world. I think he's just myopic enough to believe the crap that he says. But you know who wasn't that myopic and who's not that like, oh, well, this is completely different. What happened to Trump? I was all on the up and up, but going after Comey, now that's a vindictive. That's a king, a bad king. Have you noticed that's what they're starting to call Trump? And keep listening for that. You're going to hear the bad king, because they don't want to say Hitler or fascist anymore. So they're saying the bad king, although it's probably just a matter of time before they're back to Hitler and fascist.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them already back to it, so that didn't.
Yeah, probably so. But so David Urban, who used to be in the Trump administration first term, now he's a Republican strategist, and I guess he does some stints on CNN as a panelist or something. He's on with Anderson Cooper, and they're talking about this very subject. And this is how it went. David Urban basically kind of just bitch slaps Anderson Cooper with the facts, but it's pretty fun to watch. Cut 4, go.
David Urban, the president has repeatedly said that the Biden administration weaponized the Department of Justice. I don't know that there was a social media post by then President Biden directing the Department of Justice in the way that the president has done this. Is this not the weaponization of the Department of Justice by President Trump?
Yeah, Anderson, a few points. First of all, I really appreciate you playing the sound earlier of Jim Comey mealy-mouthing his way out of what he did in leaking those documents to the New York Times in order to get a special counsel to look at President Trump. So when you talk about vindictive prosecution and selective prosecution, I think if you're a Trump supporter, if you work in the Trump White House, if you were around the Trump campaign in 2016 like I was, and every morning you woke up to Jim Comey and the Crossfire Hurricane investigation and people getting subpoenaed based on false FISA warrants, false evidence, just complete bogusness. I think that there's a feeling that what was selective prosecution was the entire Crossfire Hurricane.
Yeah. The entire Crossfire Hurricane operation was all about destroying Trump.
Yeah.
And it was, and we all, listen, we could, the problem with that story though, Michael, is even though everybody knows it's true, even though everybody who has got a thimbleful of, intellectual honesty knows that Crossfire Hurricane was a political hit job.
Yeah.
And they know it for a whole number of reasons, not the least of which is they signed off on these FISA warrants. Comey signed off. I think McCabe signed off on one of them. they did all of this knowing full well that the dossier that they were counting on had already been debunked by the FBI, mind you.
Yeah.
And yet they still went ahead and sought FISA warrants, and got them because I guess the FISA judges, who are secret, probably leftist, decided, well, if they're going to bring it to us, I guess we got to sign off on it. And they rubber stamped it, and they used it to go after Trump. And none of it was true. None of it.
Yeah,
And-
well, I mean, honestly,
ahead.
the judges were lied to too in a lot of these instances on at
Yeah.
least 4 of the FISA warrants that they got, and the continuances on some of them, or continuation. Sorry. So the judges may or may not be culpable. I guess we'd have to go back and individually look at what was actually presented to them, because yeah, I mean, you're sort of right. This stuff was presented to them from the FBI as if it were fact. They should have maybe gone back and looked at it, but the normal procedure, I mean, you wouldn't think the FBI would knowingly be presenting judges stuff that they know is fake, which they knew this from day one, that all of the Clinton dossier was all tainted. Nothing in there was true. It had been entirely debunked, but they continued to use it. The judge, though, may not have known that, or was presented as if it were real, along with other circle jerk evidence that they were presenting, like stories from newspapers and things like that.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. They were using reports to say, well, hey, they wrote about it in the Washington Post. And what did they write? Well, we leaked some stuff to them, you see, and then they wrote about it. So now we're using that as evidence. I mean, it's just so absurd.
Yeah. Well, again, we have to have these people prosecuted. There has to be justice, and we should go after any of the judges. If any of them weren't doing their job either, in properly reviewing the evidence or anything else. I mean, again, I do think we need to cut some of them maybe a little bit of slack for the first few if they were presenting this as if it were factual and true, and there was not a reason the judge should have been suspicious of it. But otherwise, go after them too. They're obviously corrupt and part of the problem.
Yeah. Well, this is why people talked about the deep state, and everybody used to roll their eyes. But just remember, all of this crap, a lot of this crap, especially, for example, when the FBI was leaning on Twitter and Facebook, Trump was president then. Do you think Trump was saying, hey, remove all stuff about the Hunter Biden laptop? I want you to. Was Trump doing that? No. The deep state was. The people that were really looking forward to working under President Hillary Clinton at the time in 2016, and then the 2020 is another story. But they've been corrupt the entire time, and I just hope that they've got more, because I was watching it. What's his name? Andrew McCarthy on Fox this morning, and he said, yeah, well, this isn't going to go anywhere. They're not going to be able to prove this case. And of course, he can sometimes be the buzzkill, but some of what he was saying was kind of true. He said perjury's a hard rap to beat is Nixon's famous line, and they brought that up. And that's what he's essentially being accused of here. But the question is, do they have more on him? I suspect they might have a little bit more if they were going to bring it to a grand jury. Maybe there's more to this story than we know just yet.
Well, honestly, I mean, I think they've already pretty well got him dead to rights. They can play back his testimony to Congress, and they know for a fact he knew what he was telling them then was untrue. And that's really all you need for perjury. He knowingly lied to Congress. So, again, I don't think he's the biggest target on the board. I think there's probably a lot of other people that are a lot more scared, like Brennan. Everybody's saying, he's probably going to get charged within the next few days. I'm sure with some of this other information that just came out. And what's his name? Christopher Wray. I'm sure he's nervous right now that we know he lied to Congress again. Now they released the proof about how many FBI agents were in the crowd on January 6th. So,
you know what? I'll tell you what. Let's do this, because you're right about that. And that speaks to this outstanding report that's on Just the News. And I want to take a breather because we've got to, but when we come back, we're going to dive into this story that Michael was just referring to. The FBI bombshell. 247 agents were sent to the Capitol on January 6th. Many of them were later complained that they were used as political pawns. This is a big story that, because it comes from John Solomon, the media is going to play down. But we'll dive into that story and more when we come back. You're watching The Right Hook with me, Steve Hook, and Michael Lauber. We'll be back right after this.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
Wow, that's a pretty good deal, and it's a great company. Mike Lindell and his proud American workforce in Minnesota makes all their products. They don't import them from China and then mark them up and sell them to you. They make them. So he provides jobs and great quality products as well. MyPillow.com. What you should do is you should go there, check out all the inventory, check out all the wonderful products on that page, and then as you're looking at that page, call 800-749-7098, 800-749-7098. When they ask you for the promo code, say HOOK, and you'll save up to an additional 80% on a lot of those products. It's a great deal. Go check it out. All right, Mike.
I got an update for you real quick on our criminal illegal alien school superintendent in Des Moines. So not only should he have already been deported before, but of course, when they arrested him at the school, he had a Glock 19 in his vehicle, which he also shouldn't have had due to the previous weapon charges.
Huh.
It's almost like there's a pattern of behavior.
How's the left going to spin that?
Oh, I'm sure he was a wholesome, he was the best thing to happen to that school district ever. Well, whatever. He was going to be a hero of the people, like all these little Marxists.
Yeah, well, whatever. Let's talk about this story that you kind of alluded to before, Michael, because it is a big one. And I mean, look, the FBI bombshell report comes out now, 247 agents. I remember when these hearings were going down in D.C. and one of the senators pressed Christopher Wray on actually quite a few senators pressed Christopher Wray on how many FBI agents were plainclothes in the crowd. He would never, ever answer that question. He dodged and weaved and, he just bobbed away from that question. He didn't want any part of it. And now we know why. Because damn near over 250 agents were there, and most of them were dressed as it turns out, Trump supporters. Imagine that. And you know what Christopher Wray said at the time was none of the agents were involved in any of the violence, blah, blah, blah. Well, that doesn't mean they didn't encourage it. Did it?
Well, there's
Wray
a lot of people, that think they were, like whoever initially started breaking out those windows still hasn't been identified. How can we find some grandmother in Alaska, but we can't figure out who had the crowbar and broke out windows in the Capitol building?
And not only did they break out the windows, but if you see the videos of that, the dude is obviously a Fed. He's got an earpiece in. He's got tactical gear on. He's got the face mask covering everything. Oh, the left bitches about face masks for ICE agents, but they're not at all curious about who it was that went and broke those windows down. And then people around him who, by the way, were protesters, probably shouldn't have been where they were, but they were telling everybody, this is a trap. Don't go in that window. Don't go in there. And then this guy turns around and starts shoving people, saying, why did you break the window? When they've got it on video of him breaking the windows. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's like these are the kind of questions we need to be asking now. And was there an orchestrated plan utilizing these FBI agents to either start the violent activity and then push others into it or instigate it in other ways? Or were they directly responsible for it? And then that was portrayed as if it were normal citizens that were there to attend and air their grievances on January 6th.
Exactly right. Here's what the report says. The FBI secretly deployed more than 250 plainclothes agents to the U.S. Capitol during the January 6, 2021 riot, an operation so disorganized it unleashed searing frustration among many of the FBI's rank and file that the Bureau had lost its core competencies to wokeness and allowed its employees to become, quote, pawns in a political war, unquote, according to an after-action report that was kept from the public for more than 4 years. Gee, I wonder why that was. That kind of explains why Christopher Wray was answering the questions the way he was. Says scores of FBI agents and personnel, many from the Bureau's premier Washington field office, which you would suspect, sent anonymous complaints to the after-action team detailing how agents were sent into an unsafe scenario without proper safety equipment or the ability to even identify themselves readily as armed officers to other police agencies. So what that means is they were not only plain clothes, but they were armed. The most persistent complaint was that the Bureau during the James Comey, Christopher Wray era had become so infected with political biases and liberal ideology that treated the protesters from the summer of 2020 Black Lives Matter riots far differently than those arrested in the aftermath of the January 6th episode. Quote, the FBI should make clear to its personnel and public that despite its obvious political bias, it ultimately still takes its mission and priorities seriously, one employee wrote in a stinging review. He even says obvious political bias. It should equally and aggressively investigate criminal activity regarding offenders' perceived race, political affiliations, or motivations, and it should equally and aggressively protect all Americans regardless of perceived race, political affiliations, or motivations. But it goes on and on. The article goes on. I'm not going to read the whole thing. But this has prompted a firestorm on X and other social media platforms.
As it should. And then my other question is related to this is maybe now we can finally go back and see who unsealed all these magnetic doors and who gave that order. But also, out of what other federal agencies had agents on the ground there? Did the CIA have anybody? DHS? Were there ICE or anyone else deployed out there within the crowd? And were any of them ordered to instigate or do anything else? I mean, again, we really do need an actual J6 committee now to investigate the federal government's role in what happened there and the deep state role. This needs to cost a lot of people their careers. This should lead to lockups. And this is just, again, one tip of the spear right now. We've got to be going after these people in every dark corner they're hiding in. And we need to expose it all. We have a very limited window to do that.
Well, and also, because of this firestorm, this story has reignited or kind of ignited on social media. Some folks are playing back video clips and reposting clips of those hearings where Christopher Wray was basically avoiding that question like the Black Death. I mean, he never wanted to answer that question. One of them was Higbee, and Higbee brought, and I don't have the clip. Damn it, Michael, I wish I would have sent it to you. But whatever. It was probably too long to play the whole thing. But he said, what do you know about ghost buses? And Wray plays stupid, like, oh, I've never heard that term. And Higbee says, well, you should have, because that's what a lot of law enforcement uses, secret vehicles and whatnot. And he shows a picture, a still frame of two white buses, painted solid white, no markings on them whatsoever. And they were the first two buses to park at around the Capitol in the public parking where the buses would normally park. They were the first ones there, and they were carrying federal agents, all of them dressed as Trump supporters.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, again, I think that's something most of us have known for a while. Now, before, we've heard different numbers floated out there. I remember at one point it was like 89 FBI agents. It was less than that prior to that, but the number, just kept going up. I don't even remember where it ended at, but 274 I think is where we finally landed at. It was 275, then it got bumped down one yesterday.
Yeah, well, and they're also saying that, some of those, well, wait a minute, now it's time out. That's not fair. Some of these agents were there after the violence began. Oh, okay. Yeah, so they all just happened to be sitting in the FBI Bureau building there at Quantico, having coffee and talking about the latest football scores. And then they said, hey, guys, get to the Batcave and get your ass to the Capitol. Yeah, that's what happened. Sure. I just don't buy it. And I think that we all know that it was a I mean, one thing I don't want to bring up somebody that's always, there's one reporter on the right that always talks about false flags. We know who he is. But this really might have been, I think it was very much a
Yeah.
false flag operation.
Certainly. Now, that's not to say there might not have been somebody that got in a scuffle with the police if they weren't there, but I think
Yeah, no, that doesn't necessarily mean it.
But I do think this was largely ignited by federal operatives, especially now as we're seeing more and more evidence come out. Same with Pelosi denying the National Guard. And we also have to go back and remember, we have all these tapes from the Sunshine Movement. That's, what is it called? Cass Sunstein's little group. Talking to other government employees prior to this happening, basically planning out what we saw on January 6th. So we know there was federal involvement at some level, even if they want to say, oh, no, these are independent. These are employees acting on their own, off the clock. It wasn't. They know exactly what they're doing. And again, that's why we need public hearings and we need heads to roll for this.
Wow. I'll tell you what, man. And this also comes on the heels of, and we're going to have, I know you talked to Ryan Morrow earlier today, right?
Yeah.
Folks, let me just say this. This is why I say the left has resorted to just burning it all down. And that's where they're at right now. And make no mistake, that's where they're at. They're politicizing the politicization of these bureaus, which is kind of ironic. They're saying, Trump is politicizing. Maybe Trump's just trying to clean this crap up. But Ryan Morrow had a report that about the money and I'm not going to get too deep into this, Michael, because we're going to get Ryan on the show next week.
Yes.
But his report from Capital Research made its way to the White House and made its way directly to Donald Trump, President Trump. And now it's led to a new investigation into open societies out, of course, the George Soros organization, his son Alex, which apparently is even little mini me. Soros is apparently even worse than the dad. We'll see. But they're just, whether it's ICE and saying, yeah, here's where you can download the apps to show where they're at, whether it's them kind of rolling their eyes about the Charlie Kirk thing and say, oh, yes, it's tragic. Maybe we need to tone down the rhetoric. And then 2 days later, jumping to Jimmy. Somebody's trying to steal his First Amendment rights. Like they were more concerned about Jimmy Kimmel, that stupid man, getting his show canceled. They were about Charlie Kirk bleeding out in front of his wife and kids and the whole world for all of us to see.
Exactly.
They're just burning it all down. I think this is analogous to the cage or the cornered animal. They know that they're cornered.
Well, it's also because they don't care about us or our political views. We're not part of their movement. They live in a multicultural democracy, while the rest of us live in a republic. We're not part of. No, I mean, I literally think this is what it is right now. It's a mentality that they have two totally different views of our country and our government, and any of us that oppose them, we are non-entities to them. We are the other, and they don't care if we get destroyed or what happens or what their side does to do it. There's not going to be any accountability. There's not going to be any internal dilemma with them using violent tactics. They don't care. They're going to continue to encourage it. And having Ryan on this morning to look into the funding, $80 million spent on riots. What I couldn't believe is he found all this information like publicly on their website. It's just nobody bothered to go through it and encapsulate it like he did and draw out exactly who all the money went to. And this is going to wrap up more than Soros. Unfortunately,
you're not kidding. You're not kidding. It's going to wrap up more than Soros. It's this right here. The old adage in Hollywood, in Hollywood too, I suppose, but certainly in politics, follow the money. Follow the money. Well, Ryan Morrow did just that. He followed the money. And now they don't like what the left doesn't like what he's found out about where the money came from and where it went to.
Well, when you get him back on this Wednesday, he's obviously been all over the place. You guys have seen him on The Blaze and everywhere else discussing this report. And so he had to jump ship early from our program this morning to go appear on The Blaze at about 11:30. But one of the things I didn't get to get into in detail with him that I really want to talk to him about on Wednesday is one of Soros's little foundations or organizations, NGOs, is this Umbrella Consulting. And that's where a lot of the money gets laundered through that then goes out to these literal terrorists on the streets. But Soros isn't the only one giving them money. So is Bill Gates. And potentially, so are some of these other big billionaires, Reid Hoffman, Neville Singham.
Sure.
Yeah, so we need to go after all of them and the NGOs that they launder the money through, so they can pretend, oh, well, I didn't know it was going to go to that. Now, Soros can't make that claim, as Ryan demonstrated. Some of this money was going directly to groups that were then responsible for terrorism here and abroad.
Now, somebody has to pay for those pallets full of bricks that just ironically show up the day before a riot. Somebody has to pay for that crap. Somebody has to pay for those big concrete street blocks to just be dropped. So, I mean, it's all so obvious what's going on. And Ryan Morrow, listen, I've known this guy for over a decade and a half. I've known him for a long time. And he is a straight shooter, man. And I can't wait to see it. I think it's just one. I'm happy for him, but I think it would be the ultimate if my friend, a guy that I've known for a long time and used to go out and drink a couple of beers and chat politics with, if he were the one that helps bring down Soros and company, by God, he would never buy a beer again in my presence.
Yeah. They should be given the National Medal of Freedom.
Right?
He's going to need a security detail, too, because this Soros doesn't play around. I mean, he's made, well, we'll say a little less than direct threats to even people like Glenn Beck, sending a security team over there to talk to Glenn, telling him, that we don't like what Mr. Soros doesn't like what you're doing. So this is a guy that doesn't play around. Other people that have gone after him have wound up missing or dead. So we'll see what happens next.
Well, he is. There's nothing good about the man at all. And this isn't like I remember the left used to freak out about the whatever the brothers.
The Koch brothers.
The Koch brothers, yeah. Yeah, they used to raise hell about. Now the Koch brothers are, they're almost more. Well, one of them's dead.
Yeah.
But they don't have the influence that Soros. They never did have the influence that Soros has on the Democrat Party. I mean, Soros is their guy, and now that Trump has broken up USAID and taken away a bucket load of their slush funds, they're, like I said, they are cornered animals right now.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are in the political sphere of things, either running for public office or holding public office. A lot of them are inside the bureaucracy. A lot of them are inside our intel agencies. A lot of them are inside DC police and all that stuff. And I'm sure there's a lot of very good people too, because if you read that report from Solomon, one thing that stands out to me, Michael, is that a whole bunch of rank and file FBI agents are pissed because they were used as suckers and political pawns, and they had to do it. I mean, how do you not do it if the director is telling you will put on this MAGA hat and you will tuck your Beretta in your back waistband and you will go infiltrate this mob, because that's apparently what they were doing.
Yeah, well, it'd be nice to see some of them come forward now that the information's out and speak out about it. I'm sure that could be arranged somehow. Now, maybe they are already talking to investigators behind the scenes and they're gradually building their case. But even then, you could sacrifice a witness if we have 274 that were on the ground to make a public statement about this and about how they were used. And again, at some point, you do force the mainstream media into covering this. Again, I don't particularly think they're relevant anymore. I mean,
but the problem, Michael, with that line is, and I agree with you, I don't think they're relevant at all. The problem is liberal Hollywood thinks they're relevant. The Upper East Side, the Upper West Side of Manhattan thinks they're relevant. The liberal bastions of the world, the university and the verdant valleys of Harvard think they're relevant. This is, the liberal pockets, who are now Marxist pockets, really largely, they think they're relevant. And so that's who they're playing to, I guess. Yeah,
well, it is, without a doubt. It's the insane lunatic fringe of the Democrat base. But at this point, too, I almost think it'll drive them even crazier if they just think the rest of the world's turned on them and gone fascist. Because that's basically what they're being told.
There's no question they think that. That's what they think.
Yeah.
They think that because the worldview that they had in mind for everybody, for all of us, was you must be tolerant of a guy dressing and undressing in front of your daughter in her locker room. You must be tolerant of that or you're a hater. You must be tolerant of an open border or you're a xenophobe.
Yep.
You must be tolerant of no cash bail or you're a racist or you have it against people that are poor.
Yes.
And people of color, POCs. They are so, this is identity politics. This is it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? They cut down with it. They're going to be undone by it. It's going to destroy the party.
Especially as more people, even among their own ranks, are waking up after the assassination of Charlie Kirk. I think they're going to get their clocks cleaned in this next election, and we'll see what happens after that, whether they do reformat or not, or whether we see another political party enter, and then they're just cast off to the dustbin of history. Not that they won't hold on to a few positions in Nancy Pelosi's district and blue parts of Chicago and New York, but they're going to be largely irrelevant to American politics in a few more election cycles if there isn't a major turnaround. And like we said earlier, a few of these ones that do have a little more common sense, like Fetterman, maybe a few others in the House that aren't so bad, that are kind of nameless. There'll be a couple that last and maybe switch parties. Yeah, Well, too, I bet a lot of them live in fear that the minute they speak out and speak their mind, the rabid fringe part of the Democrat base that really makes up the majority of their supporters now will just destroy their career. They'll put somebody up against them. They'll be out of office. But it's also pretty sad that they don't have the cojones to actually say something and speak out and maybe try to save some remnant of the Democrat Party. But I think we are beyond that.
Well, none of them have the balls that somebody like a Charlie Kirk had, who went right into the lion's den and openly and openly debated these people without being nasty, without resorting to violence, always being kind, and that's one thing I'll say about Charlie Kirk's death. I know that we've been on this a lot, but one thing his death has done is it's forced people that never watched Charlie Kirk to go back and watch his videos. Yes. And I've said it on my own socials. Show me a video of him being a racist, and I'll give you $1 million. Show me a video of him being trans. But the only stipulation is you must play it in full, in context, without edit, and show me that video. It doesn't exist, so they can't show it. But whatever. And this madness, by the way, is not just infecting the USA with the left burning stuff down. They're doing it in Europe. They've been doing it in Europe for a while. I don't know what it is with Europe that they're so ashamed of their own traditions, morals, history, that they're willing to just surrender their various countries to radical Islam and this stop, drop, and pray thing that goes down in London, where all of a sudden 500 or 600 or 1,000 or 2,000 Muslim males just walk in the middle of the London Bridge and just all drop to their knees and start praying. This is what's happening all over the world. And this is what happened at the UN today. Listen, before we play the clip, Michael, I just want to say there's been some division amongst the right with regards to how much we should give Israel and all that. That's not what this is about. That is not my point of this clip. My point is that there is absolutely a binary choice here between good and evil. You can say whatever you want to about Israel, but when it comes to this fight with Hamas, there was evil, but it was done on October 7th. And I've seen some of those videos. You probably too have as well, Michael.
Oh, yeah.
They were horrific what they did. And this is the way they greeted Benjamin Netanyahu today at the UN on the banks of the Hudson in New York. Cut 5, go.
Please, order in the hall. Please, order in the hall.
So, there you go.
Please, order in the hall.
There you go. Meanwhile, yesterday, Abbas spoke, and he is the, Palestinian. He's the good guy in the Palestinian struggle, right? They gave him a standing ovation. They gave him a standing ovation, a rousing applause, because so many of them, including England and the UK, have decided to recognize a Palestinian state, rewarding Hamas. Trump said today, though, after that speech with Netanyahu, he said he thinks that there's a deal about to take place. I don't know. I would think that if you're Bibi Netanyahu or anybody in Israel, if that deal doesn't include the complete dismantlement of Hamas, I don't know how you can have a deal there. Hamas cannot be a part of any deal going forward. They're terrorists, flat out.
Yeah. I mean, again, this is par for the course for UN. They let Zelani speak yesterday as well, and he's a literal ISIS leader before he took over Syria. I don't know why we're cozying up with this guy either, but none of these people can be trusted. The UN's been anti-Israel, anti-Semitic, pro-Islam for decades now. We foot about 50% of the bill for the UN. We ought to just reduce their funding to just our membership, no other programs, no under anything. And they can cry about it. Kick them out of New York. They can go to Belgium with their buddies over there. And then we can rent the space out. Maybe Mamdani can turn it into low-income housing for New York.
Oh, put them in the Hague. Screw it. Put them in the Hague. Put all those bastards in the same place. It's just, and the thing is that particular brand, and that, by the way, don't say, oh, this is anti-Semitic. It's well beyond anti-Semitic. It's straight up Jew hate is what it is. That's what you see here. This is straight up what it is. Now you can disagree with the country of Israel and not be a Jew hater. No, not in this case. Not in this case. You can't, because you are implicitly siding with Hamas when you give a rousing applause to Abbas. Oh, but he's not part of Hamas. Oh, okay, yeah, whatever.
Right.
Sure, he's not. And the thing is, Michael, is that crowd is also reflected in today's Democrat base. Mm-hmm. They all hate ICE, no doubt about it, but they also all hate Israel. They all hate capitalism. Here you go. Here's what's going on. What's this?
Oh, yeah, this is for their upcoming October 7th terror rally in Chicago, and apparently there's going to be popping up in other cities. So they want to commemorate the October 7th attack in Chicago by having a protest in front of the Israeli embassy and then shutting down other various points you can see there on the map around the city, and then have a march. Of course, this concludes the Hamas wing of the Democrat Party, Antifa, and others. And the last item on there is a little, sorry, I put this together for my program this morning, so it was a little different take on it. And the last item on the right there, these are flyers that are getting handed out on college campuses now. That's one from Georgetown, out over near D.C. Hey, fascist, catch. So that's what was written on the bullet that killed Charlie Kirk, or the casing, I should say. And this is now their new marching order, because as it says on the thing, let me pull this up so I can read it. The only political group that celebrates when Nazis die. Join the John Brown Gun Club. So, this is what the left has turned into. They're embracing this violence. They want more of it. Their majority of their leaders won't condemn it. I mean, more than half of them in the House wouldn't even vote to memorialize Charlie Kirk. And AOC, I think, summed up her party's point of view pretty well, that they still see Charlie Kirk's words as violence, so they think it's okay that he got shot in the head. Now, it's paraphrasing, and she didn't quite go that far, but that's the message they're sending.
Yeah, that's it. Listen. Unless you come right out and say with no equivocation that anyone that celebrates the murder of Charlie Kirk is a scumbag and un-American, and AOC is never going to say that. So anything short of that is short of the mark, as far as I'm concerned. And I certainly do hope that the John Brown Gun Club is being thoroughly looked at, and I'm sure they probably are. So there you go. Listen, we're gonna have to wrap the show, but before we do, you had a funny clip.
Yes.
And if we're going to end the week, and it's been a, blockbuster week news-wise, we should at least do it with a smile on our face, right?
Yes. This is, and I've been asking for Trump to make a similar public service announcement, but this is my friend Sean Faresh put this out there. If you guys aren't following him out there on Twitter, you need to be, and make sure he does some great work over on LFA TV, so check him out over there. But he's a fantastic Trump impersonator. Check this out.
My fellow Americans, in light of recent studies, I wanted to warn against the use of toasters in your bathtub or your shower. It's an incredibly dangerous thing to do. You could get electrocuted. They call it electrocuted. I call it zapped like you've never seen before. A shocking experience. You don't want to get zapped. That much I can tell you, especially if you're on the left. You people are fried enough as it is. We don't need it to get any worse, and electricity is no joke. I got along very well with, you may have heard of him, Benjamin Franklin. I called him Brilliant Ben, and he was flying a kite, and the lightning hit it, and he was getting electrocuted. He was getting zapped, and I grounded him. And if I wasn't there, it would have been a much different situation. But I grounded him, and we discovered electricity together. Brilliant Ben, tremendous guy. Got along very well with him. Along the same lines, we want to advise against licking your wall outlets, despite what Jiggly Belly Pritzker says. Your wall outlet is not a candy bar. Do not try to lick it. It doesn't taste very good, and you may pick up a shock, which we don't want you to do. We don't want you to get hurt. I know those on the left love and enjoy very much licking their windows. We ask that we don't apply the exact same thing to the wall outlets. It could get you very hurt. We want to keep America safe. We want to make America great. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
I mean, that guy is spot on, man.
Yes. One of the a fundraiser I went to a while back, he was he was also at, and Trump was supposed to attend. This was during the campaign. We was over at Bedminster. Trump, due to some other delays, was not able to make the fundraiser, so they did bring up Sean on stage to do his best impression. Fantastic. He's done it for Trump too. Man, Trump's got a good sense of humor. But yeah, Sean's a great guy. You guys should be following him over on X if you aren't already.
There you go. Well, listen, that was a great way to wrap the show, because now I can just forget about all the rest of it and say I can go out and enjoy the weekend, which I encourage you to do. And Michael, I know you're going to have a good weekend, so thanks for joining me again today, as always, brother. We're going to do it all again next week, by the way, folks. And we remind you, next week we'll bring on Ryan Morrow. Ryan Morrow is all of a sudden in hot demand, but he's already. I talked to him this morning. He said, "Yes, Steve, I'll do the show maybe Wednesday." And I said, "Yeah, Wednesday works. Let's do it." So he's going to be here. We'll talk about the article that he wrote concerning the Soros money and all the other money that's going to these violent protesters, ICE and Antifa and all the ICE Antifa crowd that's trying to kill ICE and all that crap. But also we'll probably touch on him about what we saw today at the UN, because he's very, very dialed in on Islamic terrorism as well. And this wave of again, it's not anti-Semitism, it's Jew hate that is sweeping Europe and parts of the United States here with the Democrats. Anyway, thanks for joining us. Michael, thank you, brother. Anything else you want to say?
If there's anything you can do this weekend to make one of these leftist window lickers go insane, make sure you do it. We need to push them right off the edge of the cliff any way we can.
There you go. And you can do that by going to examericanews.com, bookmark that, like it, share it, and of course, watch all of our great shows on Ex American News. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. We'll see you back here.